A Shah and Ayatollah who vowed to wipe it off the map. Two nations that, for 20 years, stood as the Middle East's staunchest allies, yet today find their missiles pointed squarely at each other. This is the complete narrative of why Israel and Iran have become such bitter adversaries. And the truth behind their animosity is far more convoluted than any history class might convey. For this wasn't a conflict born of religious war. It began as a geopolitical love story. And what ultimately shattered it was not faith, but the relentless pursuit of power. The year was 1948. Israel had just emerged as a state, a nation literally born yesterday. Surrounded by Arab enemies who pledged its destruction from its very inception, it desperately needed allies in a region that unanimously loathed its existence. It found one in the most unexpected of places: Iran. Persian, not Arab. Shiite, not Sunni. A country that historically did not share the widespread Arab animosity towards the nascent Jewish state. Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi formally recognized Israel in 1950, making Iran only the second Muslim-majority nation to do so. The Israeli intelligence service, Mossad, even trained Savak, the Shah's infamous secret police. These two countries exchanged vital intelligence, oil, and military technology. Direct flights connected Tel Aviv and Tehran, fostering a vibrant exchange of Israeli tourists in Iran and Iranian merchants in Israel. It was a genuine, functional alliance, meticulously constructed upon concrete, shared interests. Then came the Ayatollah. In January 1979, the Shah's regime collapsed. Ruhollah Khomeini returned from 15 years of exile in Paris, and within months, he dramatically transformed Iran from a pro-Western monarchy into an Islamic republic. His very first foreign policy move was not to attack Iraq, nor to confront Saudi Arabia. It was to sever every tie with Israel at the root, a calculated act of symbolic violence. The Israeli embassy in Tehran was unceremoniously handed over to the PLO. The Palestine Liberation Organization promptly established its office in the very building where, just weeks prior, the Star of David had proudly flown. The message was explicitly designed to wound, and it did. Still, there was no open war. There remained an enormous chasm between fiery rhetoric and the actual launch of missiles. What ultimately transformed this deep ideological enmity into active military confrontation was a deliberate, 2-decade-long process spearheaded by a precisely named entity, the Quds Force, the external operations arm of Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps. From 1982 onwards, Iran grasped a fundamental insight that would irrevocably alter the landscape of the conflict. You don't need to attack Israel directly if you could encircle it with proxy forces that will do the attacking for you. That same year, while still locked in a brutal war with Iraq, Iran dispatched 300 military instructors to Lebanon. From this initial group, Hezbollah was born, an organization that for 4 decades has operated as the northern arm of Iran's expansive project against Israel. Rockets fired at Haifa, sophisticated tunnels burrowed beneath the border, and numerous operations consistently bear an Iranian fingerprint, even if executed by Lebanese hands. Israel meticulously observed this proxy project mature and made a critical decision. It would not passively wait for the encirclement to be completed. The Israelis adhered to a military doctrine they themselves refer to as the campaign between wars. This isn't a declared conflict, but rather a continuous series of covert operations, strategically designed to degrade the capabilities of their adversaries, before those capabilities can be fully deployed against them. For 2 decades, the primary target of this doctrine was the Iranian nuclear program. This truly is the crux of the entire conflict. Iran desperately seeks nuclear weapons. Israel knows with absolute certainty that if Iran obtains them, the balance of power in the Middle East will shift permanently and irreversibly. Not because Iran would immediately launch a bomb at Tel Aviv the very next day, but because a nuclear Iran would possess deterrence. A nuclear-armed Iran, protected by this ultimate shield, could then finance Hezbollah, the Houthis in Yemen, and various militias in Iraq without fear of an existential Israeli reprisal. The nuclear umbrella would safeguard everything. Israel comprehended this stark reality with a clarity that the Western world would take decades to process. Thus began the war in the shadows. In 1981, the Israeli Air Force famously destroyed the Asyric nuclear reactor in Iraq. It was Iraqi, not Iranian, but the message resonated globally. Israel would not tolerate a nuclear program in the hands of an enemy. This was done without prior announcement, without UN Security Council authorization, and without apology. The Iranian nuclear program, however, proved far more challenging to target than a single reactor. It was widely distributed, deeply buried, and intricately woven into various sites. So Israel resorted to other, more clandestine tools. Iranian nuclear scientists began dying in ways that defied explanation as mere accidents. One was assassinated in his car in Tehran in 2010. Another perished in an explosion in 2011. Yet another in 2012. 5 scientists in just 3 years. The Iranian government never harbored any doubt about who was responsible, while the Israeli government, true to the mechanics of covert conflict, never confirmed it. Everyone knew, yet no one spoke. And then came Stuxnet. In 2010, a sophisticated computer virus, designed with a level of precision previously unseen in the civilian malware world, appeared in the centrifuges at Iran's Natanz enrichment plant. It didn't steal information or block systems. It did something far more intelligent and devastating. It subtly commanded the centrifuges to spin at speeds that would ultimately destroy them, all while reporting to the monitoring system that everything was functioning perfectly normally. Iran lost a full year of nuclear development without understanding why its machines were mysteriously breaking down. Stuxnet was the first cyber weapon in history designed specifically to destroy physical infrastructure, collaboratively built by American and Israeli intelligence, and it fundamentally redefined what constituted an act of war. Iran responded, not immediately, and certainly not clumsily, but with strategic patience and escalating scale. The Houthis in Yemen, meticulously trained and armed by the Quds Force, began launching drones and missiles against Saudi infrastructure and against ships in the Red Sea conducting business with Israel. Iranian-backed militias in Iraq initiated attacks on American bases, which Israel often utilizes as strategic assets in the region. Hezbollah, meanwhile, dramatically multiplied its arsenal, amassing over 150,000 rockets aimed at northern Israel, the largest number any non-state actor has ever possessed. The strategic encirclement that Iran had begun constructing in 1982 was, by then, almost complete. And then, on October 7, 2023, Hamas launched an unprecedented attack on Israel from Gaza. Over 1,200 people were killed in a single day, marking the deadliest assault on Jews since the Holocaust. While most available intelligence assessments indicate Iran did not directly plan the attack, Hamas was undeniably trained, funded, and armed with Iranian technology. The rockets they used contained components manufactured under the supervision of the Revolutionary Guard. The distance between Tehran and the attack was technical, not substantive. Israel responded with the most devastating military campaign in Gaza's history, and something profound shifted. The decades-long covert conflict, replete with deniable operations and proxy wars, escalated into something no one had witnessed in 50 years. In April 2024, Iran, for the first time in its history, launched a direct attack against Israeli territory. Over 300 drones and missiles were unleashed, though the vast majority were intercepted. Physical damage was minimal, but a critical threshold had been crossed. Two countries that had spent decades battling through intermediaries finally looked directly at each other. Israel responded days later with a precision strike deep inside Iranian territory. The conflict that had lingered in the shadows for 45 years had, at last, burst into the light of day. So what then is the answer to the question that gives this video its title? Why do they hate each other? The answer, it seems, has three distinct layers. The first is ideological. Khomeini meticulously built the Islamic Republic on the foundational principle of eliminating Israel as a central political project, not merely as a tactic, but as a core tenet. This deep-seated ideological imperative is not subject to negotiation. The second is strategic. Israel remains the sole nuclear power in the Middle East and is unyielding in its determination to maintain that status. Iran, conversely, desperately desires nuclear weapons and understands that Israel will go to any length to prevent it from acquiring them. This too offers no simple diplomatic resolution. The third is perhaps the most uncomfortable truth. Both countries, in a paradoxical twist, mutually benefit from having the other as an enemy. The Iranian regime skillfully uses Israel as a convenient justification for its internal authoritarianism. Any repression, any pervasive poverty, any economic failure can be conveniently explained away by citing the omnipresent Zionist threat. Conversely, Israel leverages the Iranian threat to maintain its crucial national cohesion and to preserve a special relationship with the United States that would otherwise be far more challenging to sustain. These are two states whose very identities have been partially constructed around the profound hatred of the other. What would happen if that hatred were to simply vanish? It's a question that neither regime, it seems, is truly willing to answer.